Everyone believes that if they just get what they want, the dream job, the perfect partner, the money, they'll finally be happy. But Ibn Arabi discovered something that shatters this illusion. He proved that what you think you desire was never about the thing at all. It was always about what that thing was trying to show you, about yourself. This isn't just philosophy. This is a truth so transformative that when Ibn Arabi fully grasped it, his entire relationship with life changed. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why everything you've ever wanted was actually pointing you towards something far more profound than you ever imagined. In the early 13th century, Ibn Arabi was already recognized as one of the most brilliant minds in the Islamic world. He had studied law, theology, poetry, and mysticism. He had traveled across the Islamic Empire seeking knowledge from the greatest teachers of his time. But despite all his achievements, despite all the recognition and respect he had accumulated, he noticed something deeply unsettling. He would accomplish a goal and feel satisfied for a brief moment. Then the satisfaction would fade and a new desire would emerge. He would fulfill that desire, feel happy temporarily, and then another want would appear. It was an endless cycle, and he began to wonder, what is actually happening here? Ibn Arabi started paying close attention to the mechanism of desire itself. He noticed that before he obtained something, his mind would create elaborate fantasies about how getting that thing would make him feel. The new book of knowledge would finally make him wise. The recognition from a particular teacher would finally validate him. The spiritual experience would finally give him peace. But here's what he discovered. The actual object almost never delivered what he had imagined. The book was just ink on paper. The recognition was just words. The experience came and went. Yet the strange thing was, the disappointment never stopped him from creating new fantasies about new desires. He began to ask himself a radical question. What if I'm not actually desiring the things themselves? What if I'm desiring something else entirely, and I'm just projecting that desire onto external objects? This is where Ibn Arabi made his first stunning discovery. He realized that every human desire is actually a case of mistaken identity. When you desire a new car, you think you want the car. But what you actually want is the feeling you imagine the car will give you. Freedom, status, the sense that you've arrived. The car is just a symbol your mind has chosen to represent those feelings. When you desire a relationship, you think you want that specific person, but what you actually want is the experience of being loved, seen, valued, complete. The person has become a symbol for those states of being. Think about this carefully. You've probably had the experience of wanting something desperately, getting it, and feeling underwhelmed. The thing you got was exactly what you thought you wanted. So why didn't it deliver the satisfaction you expected? Ibn Arabi's answer was revolutionary, because you were never actually desiring the thing. You were desiring a state of being, and you mistakenly believed the external object would give you access to that state. But Ibn Arabi went even deeper. He asked, if I'm not really desiring external objects, but rather internal states of being, then what am I actually searching for? What is this feeling of completeness, of peace, of fulfillment that I keep projecting onto different things? And here's where his insight becomes truly profound. He realized that what every human being is actually desiring in every single want, craving, and ambition is reunion with the divine. Not in a religious or moralistic sense, but in a fundamental existential sense. Think of it like this. Imagine you're the ocean, but you've somehow forgotten you're the ocean, and you've identified yourself as a single wave. As a wave, you feel separate, limited, vulnerable. So, you start seeking things that you think will make you feel more secure, more substantial, more permanent. You want to become a bigger wave. You want other waves to validate you. You want to accumulate things that make you feel less temporary. But Ibn Arabi realized that what the wave is really searching for is the recognition that it was always the ocean. Every desire is the ocean, temporarily disguised as a wave, trying to remember its true nature. Here's how this plays out in everyday life. When you desire success, what you're actually desiring is the sense of your own inherent value. But you've forgotten you already are valuable, so you project that quality onto external achievement and think, once I achieve this, then I'll feel valuable. When you desire love from another person, what you're actually desiring is the experience of being fully seen and accepted. But you've forgotten that your true nature is already completely whole, so you project that wholeness onto another person and think, once they love me, then I'll feel complete. When you desire peace and freedom, what you're actually desiring is the recognition of the infinite awareness that you already are. But you've identified yourself as a limited body-mind. So you project that peace onto external circumstances and think, once my circumstances are perfect, then I'll be at peace. Ibn Arabi saw that this is why desire is never ending. You get the thing, and for a brief moment, you stop seeking and you rest in just being. In that moment of rest, you actually touch the peace you were looking for. But then the mind takes credit for the object and thinks, that thing gave me peace. So, it starts seeking the next thing. Here's what's remarkable. Modern psychology and neuroscience are now confirming Ibn Arabi's insights from 800 years ago. Studies on hedonic adaptation show that people return to a baseline level of happiness regardless of positive or negative life changes. Lottery winners and people who achieve massive success report the same long-term happiness levels as before. Why? Because, as Ibn Arabi understood, the external circumstances were never the source of fulfillment. They were just temporary symbols that gave you permission to stop seeking and rest in your own being for a moment. Neuroscientists studying desire have found that the brain's reward system gets activated more by the anticipation of getting something than by actually having it. The dopamine spike happens during the chase, not the capture. This is exactly what Ibn Arabi observed. We're not actually interested in the objects. We're interested in the seeking itself, because the seeking is the ego's way of avoiding the recognition of what we already are. But here's where Ibn Arabi's teaching becomes even more nuanced. He didn't say you should eliminate all desires or stop pursuing things. That's not the point. The point is to understand what's actually happening. When you recognize that your desire for a new house is actually a desire to feel at home in existence itself, you can still pursue the house, but you're no longer enslaved by the pursuit. You're no longer betting your peace on the outcome. When you recognize that your desire for success is actually a desire to recognize your own inherent worth, you can still work toward your goals, but you're no longer working from a sense of lack. You're working from fullness, not toward fullness. This is what Ibn Arabi called conscious desire versus unconscious desire. Unconscious desire believes the object will deliver completeness. Conscious desire recognizes that completeness is already present, and the pursuit of the object is just a game consciousness is playing with itself. So how do you apply this understanding? How do you begin to see through the illusion of desire? Ibn Arabi taught a simple but powerful practice. The next time you find yourself strongly desiring something, pause and ask yourself, what quality do I believe this thing will give me? What state of being am I really searching for? If you want money, maybe you're searching for security, freedom, or worth. If you want a relationship, maybe you're searching for love, acceptance, or completeness. If you want success, maybe you're searching for validation, significance, or the sense that your existence matters. Once you identify the quality, ask yourself, can I access this quality right now without getting the external thing? Not by pretending you have it, but by recognizing that the capacity to experience that quality already exists within your own consciousness. The irony is, when you stop believing that external objects are the source of the qualities you seek, you often end up achieving those external things more easily. But now, they're additions to your life, not requirements for your peace. Ibn Arabi's final insight was this: every desire, every want, every craving you've ever had is actually the divine desiring to know itself through your experience. You are not a separate person having desires. You are desire itself, the cosmic impulse through which the infinite explores itself in finite form. When you see this, desire doesn't disappear, but it transforms. It's no longer a problem to be solved or an enemy to be conquered. It becomes a beautiful expression of consciousness exploring its own infinite potential. Your desire for love reveals that love is your nature. Your desire for peace reveals that peace is your nature. Your desire for freedom reveals that freedom is your nature. Every desire is actually the recognition of what you already are, reflected back to you through the mirror of apparent lack. When Ibn Arabi fully integrated this understanding, he stopped living in constant seeking mode. He could still pursue goals, create, love, and engage with life, but he was no longer enslaved by the belief that something external would complete him. He had discovered that what he was searching for was the one doing the searching. This is the secret behind your desires. They're not problems to eliminate. They're not obstacles to enlightenment. They're actually signposts, constantly pointing you back to your own nature, if you know how to read them. If this video has shifted something in your awareness, subscribe now and hit the notification bell, because in our next video, I'm going to share Ibn Arabi's most practical teaching, the step-by-step method for transforming unconscious desire into conscious creation, so you can pursue your goals from wholeness rather than lack. Until next time, remember, what you desire is not out there. What you desire is the awareness that's aware of the desire itself. If this awakens something in you, consider subscribing. This journey doesn't end here. We're going to go much deeper together.